So the the um, the Substack app gives you a 3, 2, 1, and then you're on when you're making a recording. So this is an experiment. I am making a recording, um, and I'm going to tell you about my adventure playing with video on this system over the last 48 hours. I started, well, actually, it goes back further than that, but I I am working with this software called Online Broadcast Studio, I think it is, OBS, and I'm trying to get I'm basically trying to get all the pieces to work, and I'm able to make recordings. And you've seen some of the stuff that I've done, the music recordings. That's all been done through that software. There's a function that was missing, and that was with the cameras. They did not have effects filters. An effects filter does things like chroma key, and it can change the tint and hue, and it does, effects filters do funny things. And I didn't need an effects filter. I was able to do all of this stuff, but I felt like I wanted to have one. And so, or I wanted to have that capability, let's put it that way. So I was exploring this, and the problem, it always got down to this. I was setting up the software, and there's a scene, and then you attach the inputs to it, and I would attach a camera to it, and then I would go to the filters, and I had audio filters would show up, but no effects filters, no video filters. I consulted with Claude about this. So not Claude, Copilot. I consulted with Copilot, and Copilot gives me these very confident answers. Well, you need to do this, 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 and this. And I did extensive troubleshooting, and it told me about, it identified all kinds of problems. I spent hours playing with this, and it was like, oh, if you do this setting, or if you add this, and every time Copilot would come back with these very confident answers that you have to do this and this and this. And at some point, I took the OBS logs and fed them to Copilot. And then Copilot says, oh, now I understand what's going on. Copilot says, you've got a developer version of Windows. You have got, this is not your ordinary garden variety Windows 11. This is a special version of Windows. And that's the problem. And so that got me, that was about where I was yesterday morning. And at the end of that session, I had decided, okay, what I'll do is I'm going to get rid of this special developer version of Windows and put on just plain vanilla, reinstall Windows. So yesterday I had a USB key. I think it was this one. I had a USB key. I take it downstairs, down to the basement production machine. I'm creating a installation media on this key, and I had this laptop downstairs. I bring it upstairs in the morning. I set off. I'm just going to reinstall Windows. Now, I'm an IT professional. I made my living doing computer work. I go back to the days. I can remember an IBM PC, the first IBM machine I had. We had an Apple II once upon a time, but then I got an IBM PC. It had 256 kilobytes of memory. And I installed a hard drive, a 20 megabyte hard drive. It was a thing about this big, and fitted into the chassis. These machines, you had, I don't remember exactly how big the chips were, but you actually had individual memory chips that you would insert into the circuit board. Installing the operating system on those machines, you had a 5.25-inch floppy disk, one disk, put it in, it had MS-DOS on it, and you installed the operating system. I've lived through many generations of Windows. I was used to the old CDs. Uh, I did disk images. Um, I know about installing an operating system. This is the latest thing, these special keys. They talk to Microsoft. Microsoft says, yeah, it's got a license. You don't have to deal with putting in little number codes because the machine has the code sort of baked into it. So it knows it's a licensed Windows machine, all that good stuff. So I start doing this. And the first thing that happens is I go in to the install procedure. This brings up an installation an installation menu, and it identifies the sections of the disk that are available to install the operating system. And the first thing that I have to do is sort of blank that out. So I go in, I'm looking, and I'm not paying enough attention to the exact size of the disks that I'm looking at there. But I see, okay, there's the big disk. I use some command line tools that are available. There's a Shift F10 pulls up a special tool, and I use that and blank this disk, and I go ahead and start the installation procedure, and it bombs out. And I'm trying to figure out why. So I talk to Copilot, and Copilot tells me confidently I'm talking to Copilot on my phone because my laptop is now uh, not available. Although I let it run for a while and it comes up, So I haven't destroyed the Windows system yet, but I did something, and so I'm not clear what's happening. Then I try it again, and again I go in and I'm using this key. This is a 64 gigabyte USB key, and I'm working around with it, and I delete something. I know I'm going in the right direction. I'm an IT professional. I understand this stuff. I've been around it. I know what's going on. So I do something. It doesn't work. I try it again, and this time when I put this USB key in, it doesn't have anything on it. It's been blanked. So I realized, oh, I made a mistake. What I did was when I was in there trying to find space to install the operating system, I accidentally deleted everything that was on this USB key. So I need a new USB key. I put this in. This is dead. This doesn't show up. I can't do anything with this. It's like I've killed it. All right. I go downstairs and I find another USB key. I found three. I had number one, number two, number three, and these are like tiny. This one is like probably less than a gigabyte. This one's a little bigger. This one has 8 gigabytes on it. That's big enough for the installation tool. Okay, so the installation tool goes. And it takes to create one of these keys takes time, 45 minutes or something. It sits and it just does stuff. So you have to ignore it. Anyway, I get a new key, and we're probably now around noon, 1 o'clock. And I start doing this whole thing again. And now I know I made this mistake here. So I'm paying a little bit more attention, and I make sure that I don't delete this. And I put everything in, and I'm trying to sort it out. And still, it's just not working. I don't see what's going on. And by now, I'm spending time in the BIOS. I'm looking. I've already spent some time. I've gone through the boot menu, and every time I pull up the boot menu, I'm looking for an indication of a USB key, and I'm not seeing it. And I'm trying to figure out what on earth is going on. Going through the BIOS, Copilot is confidently telling me, do this, do that, whatever. And so I'm going along. And finally, in the BIOS, I find a setting for RAID. RAID, which stands for something disk. Well, it basically it's a system where you have like 3 or 4 drives, hard drives, and the data is spread across them in such a way that if one drive fails, you can always recreate the data. But this machine only has one drive in it. So how can it be RAID? But there is a RAID setting inside the BIOS, and it's set for that. Uh, I talked to the co-pilot about this, and I said, "Do you think that this machine was deployed to a corporation and they sent it back or something like that? It was prepped to go to a corporation, and then the corporation canceled the order, and they sent me a machine that had been prepped specially because it's got this odd operating system, and the BIOS has got this RAID setting." And Copilot agrees that, yeah, that's probably what happened, something like that. So we go on. I change that, and lo and behold, and now we're at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Lo and behold, I can now see like 6 partitions across this five sections. They all come up when I'm in the installation tool. I can delete them using the installation tool. Now we're really cooking. I put the Windows, basically I reinstall Windows now. I'm able to do that. And so now I've got a fresh installation of Windows on the machine. We go through all the boot up cycles. You put in your personal information that you have to do, your name, machine name, and all of that. And I've got the machine up. I install Chrome, which is the browser I use mostly, and I install this OBS software. Put the software in, get everything ready. Basically get back to my testing mode. Go and look for these effects filters in OBS. They're still not there. I still cannot find, it's not working. What is going on here? And it was about this time that something in my brain finally figured something out. And these filters appear in a little, I think they refer to them now as palettes. You have, here's the main operating thing, and then you've got little sections, panels that you can, and some of them you can just click and drag them out, so you can take your panel and set it somewhere else, whatever. And so it's in this little panel. And what I ended up doing was I highlight the video input and clicked on the filters, and then the screen appears. And what I finally end up doing is go to the top of that little panel and click on it and drag it down a little ways. And then I can take the whole panel and pull it up, and I can see the bottom. And there is the menu with the effects filters. And so it's a pretty safe assumption that everything that I did with Copilot's assistance, everything that I did was absolutely not necessary. All I needed to do was drag that window down a little, pull the whole thing up. Oh, there's what you were looking for the whole time. Now, as I was going through all of this, I was thinking a lot about, how clever technology has gotten these days. And AI is pretty amazing, and Copilot can really talk you through some incredibly complicated things. I mean, you can do coding. I've done VBA macros for Word and things like that. But there's nothing, there is no replacement for having another set of eyes that look at a situation and say, why don't you just drag that down a little, pull it up? I think maybe it's there. Uh, Things we learn along the way. So that's the end of my story about yesterday. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to take the transcript, make a really loose edit of it, and then I'll put that in as the text for the message, and we'll see how all that works. We'll see how good the transcript is, and so on and so forth. But that was my adventure yesterday, and a learning experience.